Hello everybody, it's Michael from Replica Airguns with another power source video. I did one earlier this week specifically for airguns. Today we're going to focus in on airsoft guns, and again there's a bit of a crossover with some of these guns, but power sources are kind of used a little differently in both for different things. So let's take a look at what we have here on the table first, and we'll go over some of the power sources that I'm going to talk about. So we have on the top right here, we have our 1911. This is an airsoft gun. All of these guns are airsoft guns. And this gun uses CO2, so you'd use basically a CO2 cartridge that would be popped into your magazine, right? You tighten that up. You would then place the magazine in the gun. Of course, you'd have to load BBs in it, and you're ready to go. Now, there's no CO2 in this gun, so we're all good. There's no BBs, but that's what you do. The CO2 powers the gun. It makes the slide work back and forth, cocks the hammer, allows for true single action operation. You know, when your mag's empty, slide locks back, right? You can pop your mag, put a new mag in, rack it, and you're ready to go, right? Really cool, very realistic, great action shooters in general. We'll get into that a bit more. There's going to be a crossover when it comes to CO2 and gas, so green gas. So for instance, this gun here, it really just depends what magazine we're using. Here I have, my CO2 is running away on me. Here we have a gas mag, right? And I'll talk a little bit more about gas, but you can see the gas goes in that little thing there. I'll show you in a second. But it's a gas mag, right? It works in this gun. Operates pretty much exactly like a CO2 one. This one does have some gas in it, so we'll just we'll do a little bit of a demo here. See how you get that full operation, right? So here again, right? Gas, it's going to work a lot like CO2. I could even put a CO2 mag in. This is a magazine that's designed to place CO2 in it, okay? And it does stick out a little bit more just because this is a short grip gun, but some CO2 guns, the mags don't stick out that far. They look more realistic. But if I want to use CO2 in this gun, a little bit more power, you know, I can put more BBs, more rounds in this mag before I run out of CO2, then I can do that, right? So this can be either CO2 or a green gas gun. Now, getting back to the green gas, there's kind of two ways to go about it. You can use either propane, and green gas essentially is propane. Just that propane has a stinky agent in it. It's like smells like rotten eggs, and that's been added to propane. But the gas itself is the same. So I can fill this mag up with propane, or I could use green gas. Now, again, the difference is the green gas doesn't stink like propane, and generally there's going to be a lubricant added to the green gas just to help your gun a little bit over time. You know, just keep everything working properly. So you could go back and forth. You could use propane, or you could use green gas. Another gun we have here on the table is we have an AEG. Now this is, I'm going to say it's an AEG, but there's also AEPs. And what's the difference? AEG stands for automatic electric gun, whereas AEP stands for airsoft electric pistol. Basically, they both have internal springs with a motor. The motor pulls the spring back, right, and then releases it essentially all in one step. So you can hear the motor pulling the spring back, and that pop is it releasing. A lot of these AEGs or AEPs allow for full auto, right? The stronger the motor, the more battery power you have, the faster your full auto is going to be. Now the spring determines the power. The motor determines how quickly the spring is drawn back, how fast the rate of fire is going to be. It's not that the motor doesn't determine power, it's the spring. Because once that spring comes back, it's just released. It just really depends how firm that spring is, right? And these guns typically have mags. You can put a lot of BBs in them, all that kind of stuff. And again, we're talking about airsoft here, right? We're talking about these guys. You know, a lot of times you can use airsoft for lots of different purposes. Watch my video on the difference between BB guns and airsoft guns if you're not sure what the differences are. Okay, and again, these AEGs or AEPs will have batteries that you have to charge up, right? And they'll have their chargers. You can get all kinds of different batteries for them. LiPo batteries, you can get, you know, the lithium ion, you can get standard batteries. They're going to cost you a lot of different amounts of money initially. You do have to buy batteries and have them charged in order for them to operate, just like the gas guns do require CO2 or some sort of green gas. Last but not least on the table, and we will be getting into the pros and cons, don't worry, but we have a pumper, and this reflects my spring. So a spring gun is going to require manual power. You are the manual power to draw the spring back and then shoot it, right? So the spring is internal. You have to cock that spring. On a pistol, you'd have to move the slide back and forth to cock the spring. On a shotgun, you'd just manually pull the shotgun, the pump back and forth. On a bolt action, the bolt is going to basically manually draw that spring back. On a lever action, again, the lever will, like a Red Ryder BB gun, will bring that spring back, and then you would just release it with the trigger. Okay, let's move on here. This video is getting long already, and I haven't even gotten to the pros and the cons. All right, so pros. CO2 airsoft guns allow for fast repeat shooting. They're great for action shooters, and generally a CO2 airsoft pistol will have a little more power than green gas airsoft guns. Right, the green gas just doesn't expand as much as the CO2. There's no need to pump or cock your CO2 powered airsoft gun in between shots, and the CO2 power source can allow for a very realistic action to that gun you're shooting. You get true blowback, you get the cocking of the hammer, single action shooting, all of that. Now green gas, and we'll say green gas or propane airsoft guns, operate much the same as a CO2 airsoft gun. So they all make for pretty great action shooters, and the green gas powers the mechanical operation, again allowing for that realistic operation. Green gas or propane airsoft guns can cost a little bit less to operate than, say, the CO2 airsoft gun, especially if you plan on using propane tanks, as they can be a little bit cheaper than buying the smaller 12-gram CO2 cartridges. And what I'm saying is you can buy these propane tanks sometimes for like $3 or whatever, get them on sale at your camping store. There's a lot of gas in here. I suppose you could maybe even buy propane in bulk even and somehow get it into a tank like this. I don't know. But even this way is pretty cheap. And you can fill up your green gas mag tons of times with this tank, right, and get lots of shots, versus this little guy is going to be about $1, and you're looking at maybe 60 shots with each one of these, right? So I believe that propane's cheaper or green gas is cheaper. Now getting into the spring airsoft guns, they're generally fairly basic. A lot of them, like you get those see-through plasticky ones, they're low cost. Mechanically, they're fairly simple, so they're going to be low cost to buy. They're fairly affordable. There's also no need to buy any CO2 or green gas or any batteries or charger. So the cost to shoot a spring airsoft gun is only going to be subject to the cost of your airsoft BBs. So again, all you need to buy once you got them is the BBs, because you're the power source. You're powering that spring. Well, I guess you and the spring are the power source. Okay, an AEG or automatic electric gun, and again, we can say AEP, so airsoft electric pistol, they kind of operate similarly. They have the most consistent power as they use an internal spring that the electric motor draws back before each shot. That internal spring will essentially apply the same force to the airsoft BB with each shot. AEG or automatic electric guns are a great option if you're looking for full auto. Since there's no real cool down, you don't get that CO2 or gas cool down. So really the only thing that's going to slow down your full auto operation is either running out of battery or running out of BBs. Now an AEG gun will allow for the highest capacity magazines, and often you have as many as 500 rounds in a magazine. It may seem like overkill, but that's just the reality. You can get a lot of BBs in an AEG gun. So if you're looking for firepower, I'd say an AEG is going to be your best option. Once you've purchased your AEG automatic electric gun and your batteries are charged and all set up, then they're fairly inexpensive to operate since you don't need to buy that CO2 or green gas. All right, let's get into some of the cons here. CO2 airsoft guns require the additional cost to buy the CO2 cartridges, as they will not function without it. People ask, can you use a CO2 or gas gun without it? No, you can't. It just simply won't work. It needs it. That's your power source. CO2 airsoft guns have a limited power output and lose power as you shoot them and use up the CO2. CO2 airsoft guns are affected by hot and cold temperatures and will have less power in the colder temperatures and may not even work in super cold environments. CO2 airsoft guns will have a more conservative ammunition capacity, since too high of a capacity magazine would simply freeze up, or just the gun would stop shooting at any decent rate. It just gets too cold too quickly, and so you can really generally only get maybe up to 30 rounds or so with the CO2 or even a gas gun. And again, since green gas propane airsoft guns work much like CO2 airsoft guns, they are affected by cooldown and lose power when shot quickly, or as the green gas or propane runs low. Now, green gas does not expand as much as CO2, so it will not be as powerful and even less effective in colder temperatures than CO2. Green gas airsoft guns will have a more conservative ammunition capacity similar to CO2, since again, too high capacity of a magazine would freeze up the mag. Now, spring airsoft guns are not the best action shooters, since you do need to manually operate the slide or pull back the spring prior to each shot. And again, that applies to pump, lever, and bolt action. So you're going to have to either work the slide, the pump, the lever, or the bolt to get that spring back and ready to go. So if you're looking for true semi-auto operation, that really quick shooting, one after the other, basically just pull the trigger, that's not going to happen with a spring airsoft gun. Now, if you are planning on using your AEG or your automatic electric gun in an airsoft battle or war, then it will require a multi-battery setup, which does cost a bit more upfront. So you're going to want to pick and choose what kind of batteries you want. You're going to have several of them on hand because a lot of times they take a little while to charge and you're not going to want to be able to or have the capacity to charge them in the field. So you might need a whole bunch of them, right? It's going to cost you. Another factor when you buy an automatic electric gun or AEG is that they don't operate quite as realistically as a CO2 or green gas gun. You know, they even sound different. They have that motor operating sound. They have that kind of funny spring effect that you hear. It's not that snappiness that you hear in a CO2 or gas gun. You really don't get a true blowback operation. Some of them have simulated blowback, but I don't think it's as pleasing to shoot an AEG as it is to shoot a green gas or CO2 blowback gun. Sounds more realistic, feels more realistic. You kind of get where I'm going at with that, right? All right, that wraps up this video on airsoft gun, power sources, the pros and the cons. Thanks for watching another Replica Airguns video. Don't forget to subscribe. Check me out on Facebook and Twitter. Username is Replica Airguns. Also, come on down to replicaAirguns.com where I'll have a written version of this video there for you if you want to read through it. Also, check out our Canada and US online Replica Airgun stores where we sell air guns, BB guns, airsoft guns, blank guns, pellet guns, knives, and other accessories. Thanks for watching. Until next time, take care.